Please stand and join me in welcoming Rita Moreno, Maverick Spirit Award recipient. On behalf of Cinequest and our board, the artists we represent, and Carlos Perez, the artist who created this award, we're very proud to present you with our Maverick Spirit Award. Thank you.
Oh my, thank you. Do I get a mic? Hello. Thank you so much for coming here. I haven't seen the movie either. So I'll bet you anything I'm a lot more anxious than you are. You're just gonna, well, I'll just tell you this, that it's a very funny movie, but it's also a very tender and sweet movie written by a young man. And I just know you're going to enjoy it, but mostly I'm just, wow. Oh, there's people up there too. Hi. Oh my God, that's great. Where's my daughter, Fernanda? Where are you? Where? Oh, there she is. Okay. Just want to make sure my baby's there. Anyway, hi.
Hello, lovely to have you here. You look
Hello,
beautiful.
so nice to see you too. Where are you from? I can't imagine.
I'm from England.
Really?
Really. You look wonderful. I love your outfit. Beautiful.
Thank you. It's kind of playful, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's very
My
lovely.
daughter makes jewelry, so this is...
Very nice. Good job, Fernanda.
And I didn't have to put out or anything. It's wonderful.
You've had such a rich and diverse career being a Maverick Spirit, and you've spent your whole life in the arts. I'm wondering if you can remember your first experience of art of any kind, whether it's a book or a song, where you first realized that art can affect us on a really deep level, not just entertain us.
You know, I was dancing from the time I could walk in Puerto Rico.
Right.
And my grandpa, oh look, 2 Puerto Ricans. Hey, for San Jose, that's a lot. My grandpa used to love to see me wiggling my tush, and he would always put on records. This was when I was a very, very little girl, you know, 4 years old, 5 years old. And I'd bop around and dance to salsa records, and his attention and the look of glee on his face said to me, this is a nice thing to do, you get appreciated. So that just started, I think some people are just wired that way, you know?
Yeah.
And I've never done anything else but perform my whole life. I have never been a waitress, I have never been a secretary, a receptionist, I have never done anything, which of course nowadays is not possible. But in my time, that's what I did.
Yeah.
And I love it. I still love it. I love my craft. And I feel so privileged to, at the age of 84, still be doing it.
It's amazing. It's so amazing. The acclaimed choreographer Dame Gillian Lynn, she said the first day of dance school was fabulous for her because she was finally surrounded by people like her, people who needed to move, to think. So I'm wondering if that comment resonates with you at all in terms of thinking through movement. I mean, you said you were moving from a very young child. Is that something you've ever thought about?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. When I first came here, New York City, from Puerto Rico, a friend of my mother's who was a Spanish dancer, Irene Lopez, was a Spanish dancer, and she saw me bopping around in our little ghetto apartment, and she said, you know, I think Rosita might be a good dancer. Can I take her to my dancing teacher? And my mom said, yeah. She said, would you want to go? I said, yes. And that started it all. I loved it. In this case, it was Spanish dance. I still play castanets, and when I do my concert show, I very often play them. Right. And I learned all of those beautiful Spanish dances like the Sevillanas and La Jota and La Zambra and all kinds of farruca, flamenco. I love that kind of stuff. Yes. And I still do. Heel.
Yeah. I think there's a wonderful... I think there's a wonderful power in movement that can express emotion.
The girls wanted to make an appearance. That's what happens when you don't wear a bra. Oh, my word. My daughter probably just had a heart attack.
I was looking at your feet, so I saw nothing.
Oh, good.
On a slightly more serious note, in your...
Oh,
not that wasn't very powerful. You've said in your memoir that the themes of your life are scared to death, fighting to survive, and forever a foreigner in more ways than can be imagined. So many of us live with fear of failure or success or many things. I'm wondering how you've managed your fear in your life in such a way to allow you to achieve so much.
What a good question. I don't know.
Okay.
But I'm going to try. Fear really is about failure, I think, in every respect. And when I came to this country, I was made to feel that I didn't have much value. Even as a very little girl, I remember being called names like Spick and Wop and Gold Tooth and all the words you hear in West Side Story, garlic mouth. And if you're young enough, you're still a very tender little person. And you tend to believe what people tell you. And if people tell you that you don't have worth, you believe it. Yeah. So I grew up thinking that I had very little value, that I was inferior to most people. I really did believe that. I know it's hard to think of that and then look at this woman who's, trying to hide her boobs, but I had a very, very hard time for many, many, many years. Those are the kind of things I didn't tell my mama. Yes. Because I instinctively knew there was nothing she could do about it. So I kept those things to myself, and when kids would bully me in the schoolyard or on the way home, there were a lot of little gangs then. I never told her anything because I felt it would just be a huge burden on someone who couldn't do anything about it. So I kept it to myself. But those things have a cost. That kind of secrecy has a cost. Yes. And I ended up in psychotherapy for a bunch of years, about 8 years, much, much, much later on. It's actually one of the most constructive things I ever did for myself. But fear, anxiety was so much a part of my life. I can't begin to tell you how really severe it was, how I felt ugly, how I felt I was too dark, my hair was too curly. I just felt such an outsider for way, way, way too many years. Yeah. So I certainly empathize with people who have those kind of problems now. And what happens very often when you're having that kind of problem is that very often you get very angry, and your anger becomes very misplaced. Right. And that's what you see a lot of people doing terrible things to each other because their anger has or they think it has no outlet, and it comes out this way. Yes. Which is why I finally understood. I give the longest answers. No. Which is why I finally understood that language was very, very, very important for me, that I had to learn it, that I had to learn how to express my feelings in the most precise way that I could, because language is the road to being understood. Or at least so I thought.
Interesting, yeah. I mean, you had these barriers of race that you've spoken about, and also being an immigrant coming to a new country, and also being a woman. You started your career in the era of the infamous casting couch, when there was a very predatory approach to young women entering the performing arts. We've seen improvements in how women are treated, but I'm interested to know from your experience how the industry's changed over your career, and also what further advances perhaps you'd like to see in that regard.
Well, with respect to the casting couch, I don't even know if that really exists anymore. I don't know.
Anymore?
I mean,
Oh,
not
okay.
at my age. No one's going to be, killing themselves to get me in the sack. Well, there are a couple. Do I see any comers? That's a woman. Woo! And you're a dirty old man, but never mind. I wouldn't know if that still exists. Let me put it that way.
No.
I mean, now if someone's interested, they'll kind of let me know pretty quickly.
Right. Yeah.
In those days, but I remember very clearly certain producers and people of position in the film industry calling me up and trying to get me into bed, and that was absolutely frightening. I remember one in particular, Buddy Adler, who ran after Zanuck, he ran 20th Century Fox, and he kept calling me, and I kept not being home because I had 3 other roommates, and I kept saying to them, "Tell him I'm not here, tell him I'm not." And finally, I remember after 2 months of calling, he finally left a message, which was, "Okay, I give up." But it was scary because you could lose your job.
Yes. Yeah.
They could just say, "Well, the hell with her."
Yeah.
There's plenty others who can show their gratitude.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it was very, very frightening.
Yes. Yeah. Very frightening. And of course, that has happened in other industries as well. But we have seen a improvement in that. So hopefully, it's the same in film. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You've got this wonderful career with many glittering moments that people select to highlight, as we saw in the film at the beginning. But I'm wondering what stands out for you. What aspects of your career and life are you most proud of?
Most proud of? Oh, it has to be the Oscar for West Side Story.
Yeah?
I mean,
You
At
finally
least-
got to play a role where you were a Puerto Rican. Yeah.
At least that was the first one. Then, actually, at the same time, I got the Golden Globe for West Side Story, which a lot of people don't know about. But recently, my life has just been turned around with the the Kennedy Center Honors and the Screen Actors Guild, which is a Life Achievement Award, which is given to you by your peers. That's almost more important to me than the Kennedy Center Honors. And tonight, who would have guessed? Who would have thunk? Every time something amazing like that happens to me, my mind immediately, when I was told that the Kennedy Center Honors were coming up in December for me, along with George Lucas and Carole King, all these amazing people, the first thing that happens to me is my head and my heart immediately go to Puerto Rico. And I see myself as a little girl with a huge bow on my head that my mom used to put on my head, playing with these little bitty little frogs called coquí in Puerto Rico, which was something I used to do for fun with my other little kid friends. And that's the first thing I always think of, and I think, my God, what a journey, what an astonishing, how did this happen? I'm always amazed, truly amazed, and grateful.
Yeah. So now you have these awards. You mentioned the Kennedy Center and the Screen Actors Guild. You've got the Presidential Medal of Freedom, as well as the National Medal of Arts, which is on behalf of the American people. Do you feel good enough now? I mean, you said you spend most of your life, not feeling good enough.
Well, that's really a great question, because a lot of actors hang on to their sadness very often. Do I feel? Well, I'm always surprised. I don't know, but I'm deeply surprised. It's like a who me kind of feeling. It's once in a while I go look at those two shelves in my living room, and I just say, wow, wow. I can never quite get over it. My daughter says to me, I will say to my daughter sometimes, I met so-and-so, some famous person. I can't think of the person at the moment, but I say, and they love me. They think I'm wonderful. And she says, when are you going to get over that? And I'm still saying, look who loves me. It happened with Fred Astaire. It happened with Michael Jackson.
But I think it's nice to keep that sense of wonder, because then
Well,
you're not believing your own PR then. Some people disappear into their own PR and just think they're so wonderful. But for you to keep that sense of wonder.
Well, I certainly do.
Yes, your feet are on the ground.
For sure. Yeah, my clog's on the ground.
In your memoir, you say that from the age of 5, you felt you had to pretend to be someone that you were not, that you constantly had a voice in your head saying, who do you think you are, and that you were always playing a part, whether it was the smoldering, sexy Spitfire or the award-winning Hispanic heroine. Reading your memoir, you're obviously a very thoughtful person who's really worked on self-awareness. Do you feel you've come to a place now where you really know who you are for you?
I do.
Yes.
I do, and I think I'm swell. But, boy, you have no idea how long it took to be able to say that without feeling embarrassed. And I do believe really that therapy helped me enormously. But he could, as I said to him when I finally left therapy, I said to my doctor, my psychoanalyst, I said, you couldn't have done it without me. And he said, you're absolutely right. But it took me longer than that. Leaving therapy doesn't mean that I felt I was perfect at that point. I think I'm as perfect as I'm ever going to be. That's it. This is it.
Yeah.
This is it with my temper and whatever else. This is who I am, and I accept that person, and I accept her with gratitude. I'm so happy to just be here. I tried to kill myself once. I took pills.
Yes.
So I'm just, when I say I appreciate every moment, I appreciate every moment that I'm still here. And if I had been successful at that, I wouldn't be pointing to the soul of my life, my daughter Fernanda. Yeah.
Oh. As evidenced by your receiving, you haven't the Oscar, the Emmy, the Tony, the Grammy, your careers encompass singing and dancing and acting. Does it feel like they all come from within the same creative place within you, or does each of those reflect a different part
No, I
of you?
think they really all come from exactly the same place.
Yes.
I started as a Spanish dancer, and then I started to sing on my own, no lessons. And it all comes from exactly the same place. It's my favorite place of mine. I love to go there, and I love it. I love to act. I get such a great feeling when I get to do roles in different venues. It's marvelous, and I think the reason it's marvelous for me is that I am vain enough, I suppose, to love the idea that I can actually make people laugh, or I can make them very sad and teary in a role of something that I'm doing. And that's heady stuff. That's powerful.
Yes.
And I remember the day that I realized I had that power. I was playing Serafina delle Rose in Tennessee Williams's A Rose Tattoo. And at the end of when we were taking our bows, people were standing up. I've never had people do that before. And this is before that became the fashion, by the way.
Right, yeah, that's true.
And it was an amazing revelation. I thought, wow, I can do this. I can move people. That's irreplaceable. I love it. And if any actor ever tells you that they hate all that stuff, that attention and that affection from an audience, they're full of shit.
You've played some quite different roles. How do you go about embodying a character? How do you get into the head of them?
I've played some really very diverse characters, like the nun in Oz, the HBO. It's an amazing series. And I remember when I got that, because till then I'd been doing, a lot of very sexy ladies, the usual stuff, which was boring.
Yes.
And because most of them were stereotypical parts. And when I got this, I remember calling my daughter. I was in New York and she was in LA, Fernanda. And I said, hey, I'm going to do a series. I'd never done one. And I said, I'm going to do it for HBO. And she said, wow, what are you playing? What's the show? And I said, well, it's about life in a maximum security penitentiary. And she said, what are you playing? And I said, and I swallowed hard. And I said, well, I'm playing a nun. And there was this long silence. And then I heard this. Even my daughter. But I got a lot of really wonderful recognition for that and respect in the industry, which is interesting.
Well, it's obviously a testament to your acting that it's so different from your natural character and you pulled it off. Yes. Yeah. Some people think that creating art can be a way of processing trauma and healing ourselves. And I think, you speaking about your journey through your life, it seems that might have been the case for you. I'm wondering, do you see a place in the world for the arts as a healing mechanism?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what breaks my heart is how many art programs have been canceled in schools. I think that's terribly important. Music and art and acting for children who don't want necessarily to become a big actor or a star or even just, it's great. It's very creative. It makes you look inside yourself. That's what acting does. You really have to dig deep. And I remember one time I was standing on the set with Tom Fontana, who wrote Oz, and he had a young nephew, a young man of about 14, who was on the set. And I had a scene which he was watching on the monitor where I had to look at a picture of my husband, and the tears started to come down. And the boy afterward, after he said cut and that's a take, the boy came to me and he says, how do you do that? And I said, oh, honey, there is a well. It's always full. And you just have to be able to access it. And a lot of people who want to be actors can't. It's you really have to go down there into the down and dirty, into that pond scum, and bring it up and use it. And a lot of actors can't do that. So they're a certain kind of actor.
Yes. Yeah.
But when he asked me that, Tom just started to laugh because he knew. He knows where that comes from. It's very deep, very profound. Sometimes it's very dark.
Yeah. And I think that you make a good point about you don't have to necessarily be going into the arts to get a lot out of it, to be creative, and it translates into so many different areas.
My grandson Cameron right now is doing a lot of plays at school. He's one of those extremely bright little boys who also writes like a beast. And he's doing theater. I know he's not going to be an actor, but it's wonderful for him. I'm thrilled that he's doing it. Because it also takes a kind of bravery to do it. You have to have a little bit of courage.
Yeah, that's true. We're about to see your latest film, Remember Me.
I've never seen it.
Well, it's wonderful for all of us to see it with you for the first time. What do you love about this character?
This is such... Let me first tell you how I got the script. It was sent to me by, I think it was the producers, two wonderful women. And yes, women. And I remember thinking, okay, this is a very, very tiny little movie. I'm not going to get much of this. In terms of a salary, it's going to be a joke. You know, it'll be Screen Actors Guild, what they call minimum, Screen Actors Guild minimum. But I read it and I said, oh, I want to do this. It's very funny. What's going to be hard watching it tonight is all the moments in the film where we kept breaking up. I mean, we just, I mean, I think we used more of our budget saying, okay, let's do it again, and please try not to laugh this time. It's just very funny, and the two young men, you will love them. And you'll meet them here after the movie, so that'll be fun. I adore them. I call them my children. They're talented, and they're funny, and they're clever, and they love me, which matters a great deal.
Yes.
I love them.
Well, your passion for your art is clearly as strong as ever. Thank you so much for coming and sharing aspects of your life with us tonight.
Well, you were wonderful. You asked great questions. Thank you.
Oh,
Wasn't she
thank
good?
you. Thank you. I'm just going to announce the film, so you stand up. And now, ladies and gentlemen, Cinequest is delighted to present the world premiere, which was made possible by Lexus of Stevens Creek. Thank you for their sponsorship. But we're delighted to present the world premiere of Remember Me, starring the inimitable Rita Moreno.